Alright, so I have cut strips of plywood. Now again, I've got 4 of them because I'm making 2 of these cubby boxes. But those strips of plywood are 3 inches thick. Now, one of the leftover sheets that I had was too long, and I've got one spare strip that I did at exactly 48 inches because that's the length of the cubbies. So these are all 4 going to be front and back risers. I called them legs. They're not really legs. I'm really just going to bolt these flat underneath the piece in order to give it an extra 3/4 inches of height. I'm putting a topper on the cubbies as well, which is going to be painted for the seat because I had a spare piece of plywood that had enough left over to make the seat, and it's got a nicer green pattern on it. But what I'm going to use is my miter saw setup, and I'm going to cut these down to exactly 48 inches for each of the front and back strips. So here we go. For 48 inches. Now, I'm going to use this spare piece of plywood. Well, we need to cut this down to, this is going to be for the width section. Now, there are 3-inch wide strips going on the front and the back, and because I want to put pieces in between of that, and I know it's 16.5 inches exactly from the front of my cubbies to the back, I need to cut these at 10.5 inches in length. So I'm going to measure that out. This side has a little tear out on it, which is why I'm using this piece. And when I push it up against the fence, this is causing it to be at an angle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make that same measurement again, but on this side of the wood, so that I can put it on the fence and it'll be flat. I know too much, yeah, I know. YouTube world, so I want to show you what I'm using for my face frames. I actually had some leftover fence wood, which you can see some of that in the background there. It's gray, it's nasty, and doesn't look very appealing, but when you sand it down, then it starts looking really nice. So I'm going to show you what that looks like next. Alright, so as you can see, gray, nasty wood on the left side. This is what this wood looked like when I started. So just using some aggressive 80 grit sandpaper and sanding it with a random orbit sander took it to looking gorgeous. You got a nice red tone to it. Now it's going to be painted. I'm going to cut these down to strips to cover the edges of the cubbies, because you can see the plywood on the edges there. Plywood edging doesn't really take paint very well, so I'm going to cover those edges all the way around the tabletop, all four sides, and then I'm also going to put face frames on the front for the cubbies, and then I'm going to put face frames to match on the sides. The back is going to be up against a wall, so we're not going to put face frames on that. There's no point in wasting the extra wood, but the sides and the front is going to look awesome. So I have finally finished the face framing. I still have to put some veneer around the top of the cubby bench, but I'm going to show you what it looks like here in just a second without the veneer. I've still got to cut that, glue it, put it all on. It's going to be another long process doing that particular part of this build, but it is almost finished and ready for paint. Okay, so as you can see, I don't have the veneer on the top piece of plywood, but what I do have is the face frame completed all the way across the front. I have face frame on all four of the front pieces, all the way along the bottom, and then underneath the tabletop, or not tabletop, the cubby top itself, I've got the cedar that's been sanded down in there. And then on the sides, I put another face frame on the sides. It's not perfect, but it looks really good for a first attempt at something like this. And then this is the other side. I could not be happier with the way that this entire thing has turned out thus far. I can't wait to paint it and see how that goes. And then I have everything cut out. These are all the pieces that'll be used to build the second one. I haven't assembled that one yet or started cutting the dados, but it took me 2 days of trial and error to get this first one completed, and I think it looks pretty darn good. Let me know what you think in the comments. So I have spent the entire day outside putting the finishing touches on the first cubby bench, and I have to say I learned a lot, but it took all day doing these face plates. There's a lot that goes into measuring each one with the minute differences in width and length that they needed to be. Setting up the table saw, moving things around. Since I don't have permanent homes for a lot of these tools, I had to roll things out, do the cut that I needed to do. It definitely will go faster for the second one. I've got a lot more in mind as to what I need to set up and how many cuts I need to make at the same length and width. It should go a whole lot faster for the second one. The plan was to do a cedar veneer around the top of the cubby. Can't do that. The board that I was planning on using that had the right length actually was split in several places, and I didn't realize that. So when I went to pull it out in order to get it onto the table saw, it was way too dangerous to try and maneuver. It would have thrown quite a few pieces back, and so I'm not even going to chance it. I got a new tool out of it. I ordered some wood veneer on Amazon, the edge banding, and a cutter, so I'm happy. And I love getting new tools. But I'll get those in on Wednesday, and I'll show a video of how I put the edge banding on. And then the next few videos should be painting. I want to paint this one, make sure that I have everything filled in. I'm going to use some wood filler on it to get the edges perfect, sanding. You know, this is one of the first major projects that I have sold, And so I want it as perfect as possible. I will say I have sent pictures to the client. She is ecstatic with the way that things are coming out, and so that makes me really happy. It's very satisfying to look at something and know the last 2 days weren't wasted. You know, I didn't spend the entire time just sitting in the house. I spent it out here in my garage, woodworking with my kids, teaching them things, putting these videos together. There's just something so satisfying about it, and I really hope if you're thinking about taking up woodworking that you take my advice. Just do it. There is no excuse at all. It doesn't matter your experience level. I've been doing this for just over a year, and the things that you learn as you go, you'll never forget. Watching videos, that can help. They give you a lot of really good pointers, but there's something to be said for learning things by doing them, because it sticks with you even more. And when you mess something up, it sticks with you a little bit better than when somebody tells you to do it a certain way. Or if you've watched a video that said, hey, do it this way, not this way, and then you end up trying it the way they said not to do it, and it messes it up, you realize why. It tends to stick with you a little bit better as well. I am very happy with how this project has turned out. I'm going to do a walk around video of it in order to show the face plates, the way that the cedar works with the plywood. Now this is all going to get painted. The client wants it painted black with their logo for the gym that this is going on the top. So it'll be black with white lettering and a red barbell that goes across the top. It's going to look awesome. I'm going to get some painter's tape. That's the only thing that I don't have at this point. And use that painter's tape to mark off the letters and the barbell for the logo, and then primer the entire thing and go from there. It's going to be a lot of fun, so be sure to subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.